Thanks first of all to Professor Shelar and his organization for inviting me to be part of this very august group and to give my thoughts on a topic that has been at the forefront of public debates over the last 2 decades in particular. The possibility of a gradual and sustained rise in global temperatures and the potential for irreversible and catastrophic consequences to the planet and its life, a phenomenon that we refer to as global warming, has led to many heated discussions. The call for action to attempt to bring to a halt, if not reverse the emissions of greenhouse gases through modifications of human behavior, has often taken the form of taking precautionary actions even in the face of uncertainty about the possible magnitudes and ramifications of global warming. The prevalent form of this so-called precautionary principle requires that when faced with the possibility of irreversible and catastrophic events, precautionary actions must be taken so as to be better safe than sorry. The Wingspread Declaration, for example, states that when an activity raises threats of harm to human health or the environment, precautionary measures should be taken even if some cause and effect relationships are not established scientifically. Translating this into practice has, however, been wrought with difficulties. In particular, trade-offs that are involved between the near term, the medium term, and the long term, between various competing demands for resources. The role of adaptive measures, mechanisms to handle disparities across regions and populations, and the rate at which the future should be valued are all unclear. The process of implementation of the principle has also not been articulated in a consistent manner, making the precautionary principle a very charged political argument. Yesterday, in his introductory speech on the vision of this conference, Professor Shelar pointed out one reason, and a very important reason, why agriculture should be at the forefront of these discussions. And I'm going to point out what, in my opinion, is another reason why agriculture should be at the forefront of these policies in order for them to be effective and in order for them to be implementable. The guiding document in the context of discussions on the costs and the benefits pertaining to actions on global warming is a very thorough review conducted by Sir Nicholas Stern called The Economics of Climate Change, also referred to as the Stern Review. This has itself come under a lot of criticism as well as a lot of platitudes. Under the worst case scenario, which is referred to as A1FI, worst case in the sense that the temperature rises the maximum. Global temperatures increase by 4 degrees by 2085 and results in a 21% increase of people at risk of hunger. This, however, is much smaller than the risk of hunger caused by water shortages, caused by diseases such as malaria, coastal flooding, etc. Climate change in 2085 would be responsible for about 10% of mortality for hunger, malaria, and coastal flooding, whereas water stress could increase net people at risk of hunger from 0 to 72%, according to a very renowned environmental economist by the name of Inder Gopalani. At a cost of less than $34 billion, according to the UN Millennium Project and IPCC, measures focused on hunger, malaria, coastal flooding, and water stress would end up reducing cumulative mortality by 5 to 75% and could have a huge and immediate impact on human well-being. The question thus becomes, is precautionary principle guided climate change policies the best use of our resources, and can we justify allocating all our resources to mitigation of global warming? This is a question that is often raised by critics of many of these policies. Is mitigation more effective than adaptive technologies? Because while there are activities that you can undertake to reduce the likelihood of an event happening, there are also things that you can do to reduce its impact in the event that it does happen. Is the precautionary principle sustainable? Or is it sustainable development sufficiently precautionary? These are all questions that need to be answered and will be the points of emphasis in the outline that I'll discuss in a few minutes. Let me step back for a second. To speak about a story that I read long time ago. It was so long ago. Now you know how old I am. It was so long ago, I don't remember when I read it. But the story stuck in my mind. It is a story which, as with all other Indian stories that we read when we were kids, has a moral. In this particular context, I'm going to outline that story not because of the particular moral in the story, but because of its implications for some of the points that I want to highlight. There was an old farmer who lived in a village in India. He was blind. His wife passed away. He had one son. So the son would take care of the blind farmer. He would take care of the fields, take care of everything in the house, take care of his father. One day, after the harvest was done, some robbers raided the fields, stole the harvest, beat up the son, so he became crippled. The next day, the entire village came to visit the old man to pay their condolences. They said, "Oh, we are so sorry. You're blind, your wife has passed away, and your only son is now a cripple. We feel so sorry for you." The old man just looked at them, the farmer looked at them, and said, "It is all for the best." They shook their heads, said, "What is wrong with him? He's not only old and blind, he's also gone senile. He's lost his mind. He has nobody else. His only son is a cripple, and he's saying everything is for the best." A few months later, the kingdom went to war with the neighboring kingdom. The king ordered all of the able-bodied men from the villages to come and join the army. This was an order. The king lost that war. None of those able-bodied men came back to the village. And now the old man walks around the village with his head held high saying, "Now you know what I meant. Everything is for the best." They could not take his son because he was crippled. The reason why agriculture should be at the forefront of these discussions